Okay, so picture this. You're all geared up for a big hike, totally stoked to hit the trails, but then you open your closet
Yeah.
and you freeze. What shoes do you grab? Boots, shoes.
Oh, yeah, I've totally been there. It's like decision paralysis.
It can be. So today, we're going deep on hiking shoes. We've got
Okay.
articles, research, even a scientific abstract on how different shoes affect your feet, all to help you decide if hiking shoes are right for you.
And how to pick the best ones for your next adventure.
Exactly. Let's lace up and dive in. First off, what makes hiking shoes different from boots?
Well, the biggest difference is height. Hiking shoes are lower cut, usually below the ankle. You get way more freedom of movement and flexibility compared to those sturdy, high top boots.
So more lightweight and agile. I can see how they'd be great for longer hikes when you don't want to feel weighed down.
Exactly. That lighter weight usually means less fatigue. Plus, they often use more breathable materials. Imagine hiking on a sunny trail, feet feeling cool and comfy instead of hot and sweaty.
Sounds pretty ideal. But what about ankle support? I always think of boots when I picture those rocky, uneven trails.
That's a common concern for sure. It's one of those trade-offs. Hiking shoes might not give you the same ankle support as boots, especially with a heavy pack or really tough terrain. But perplexity research suggests that ankle support might be a bit of a myth.
Wait, really? Are you saying boots aren't the ankle-saving heroes we taught?
Well, they do provide some support, but the research says the best way to prevent ankle injuries is actually strengthening and stretching those ankle muscles, building your own natural support, so to speak.
So it's more about preparing your body than relying on the boot to do all the work. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and perplexity research even found that sometimes boots can actually increase the risk of other injuries. Think about it. Heavier shoes mean you get tired faster, maybe take clumsier steps, more chance of tripping or stumbling.
That makes sense. I've definitely felt that fatigue on long hikes, especially in heavier boots, like my feet were turning into lead weights.
And get this, one boot company admitted people were still getting ankle injuries even with their fancy, high-tech ankle support design. It really shows that ankle stability is complex. Boots aren't a magic bullet.
Wow, that's pretty eye-opening. So we might be giving boots a bit too much credit in the ankle support department.
Maybe a little, but it doesn't mean boots are bad. It's about understanding their limits and prepping our bodies for the trail. And that's where hiking shoes can shine, especially if you want lightweight flexibility for more natural foot movement.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal. But when would you actually need the extra support and protection of boots?
That's a great question. It all comes down to what kind of hiking you'll be doing.
Makes sense. You wouldn't wear, like, fancy sneakers on a rugged mountain trail, right?
Exactly. DT article says to really think about the trails you'll be on. Smooth, well-maintained paths. Hiking shoes are usually a great pick. Comfort, flexibility, breathability. Perfect for a nice stroll.
But when things get rough, tough climbs, rocky descents, that's where boots might be your new best friend.
Think of them like your trusty hiking buddies, giving you that extra ankle support and stability on uneven ground, especially if you've got a heavy pack.
And they're built to handle those tougher trails, right? Protecting your feet from all those rocks and roots and surprises Mother Nature throws at you.
Absolutely. And don't forget about weight. Perplexity research really highlighted how much shoe weight affects your energy level.
Oh yeah, that was mind-blowing. They found that carrying weight on your feet actually takes 4 to 6 times more energy than the same weight in your backpack.
Crazy, right?
It's wild. Like a 1 pound difference in shoe weight could feel like adding 4 to 6 extra pounds to your pack. No wonder my feet feel so much lighter in my trail runners.
It's a game changer, especially for those long hikes or when you're carrying a lot of gear. So choosing lighter footwear, like hiking shoes, can make a big difference in reducing fatigue and keeping you going on the trail.
Okay, so we're back and all about those hiking shoes. Sounds like they've got some serious perks, especially for flexibility, breathability, and saving energy on the trail.
For sure. But just like with any gear, it's about finding what works for you and the kind of hiking you'll be doing.
Right. So let's say you're team hiking shoes. What are the key things to think about when you're actually shoe shopping? Like, what features should we be on the lookout for?
DT article had some good tips on this. First up, terrain. Are we talking well-maintained trails or going off the beaten path?
Right, because a shoe that's great for, like, a smooth path might not cut it when you're scrambling over rocks and roots.
Exactly. For those rougher adventures, you'll want a hiking shoe with a really sturdy outsole. That's the bottom part that touches the ground. Look for deeper lugs, those knobby things that grip, and a stiffer midsole for stability.
So it's about balancing flexibility and support. something that moves naturally, but can also handle those uneven surfaces.
Yeah. And speaking of uneven surfaces, protection is key. You want something that'll shield your feet from all those rocks and roots and stuff.
Oh, I've learned that one the hard way. Nothing ruins a hike faster than a bruised toe or a rock poking through your shoe.
Ouch, yeah, no fun. Look for toe caps, those reinforced areas at the front, and rock plates, which are built into the midsole to protect from sharp stuff.
So we've got traction and protection. What about waterproofing? That's a big one for me, especially since the weather can be so unpredictable.
DT article went deep on that. They break down waterproof versus water resistant, which can be kind of confusing.
Yeah, because those terms get tossed around, but they don't always mean the same thing.
Right. Waterproof means bone dry, even in heavy rain or crossing streams. They usually use a membrane, like Gore-Tex, breathable but keeps water out.
Like a little umbrella for your feet. But you mentioned breathability. Is that an issue with waterproof shoes? They seem like they could get pretty stuffy, especially when it's warm.
That's the trade-off, for sure. They're not as breathable as non-waterproof ones, so if you're hiking in hot, humid weather, maybe consider water-resistant instead.
So water-resistant is like a lighter shield. Good for splashes or light rain, but not a downpour.
Exactly. And they usually dry faster if they do get wet, which is helpful on multi-day trips. DT article mentioned that.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got terrain, protection, waterproofing. What about fit? That's got to be huge, right? Especially when you're talking about hours on the trail.
Huge. Fit is everything with hiking shoes. DT article had some good advice here. Always try shoes on at the end of the day when your feet are a bit swollen.
That's smart. Never thought of that, but
Yeah.
makes sense. Your feet do tend to swell throughout the day.
Yeah, and wear the same socks you'll hike in. Seems small, but it can make a big difference.
Oh, I've been there. Trying shoes on with thin socks and then realizing later my thicker hiking socks make them feel way too tight. Not fun.
Nope. And don't be shy about walking around the store. Get a feel for them. Pay attention to the heel, toe box, the arch. Enough wiggle room for your toes. Heel not slipping.
It's about the Goldilocks fit, right? Snug, but not too tight, like a nice hug for your feet.
Exactly. And speaking of comfort, let's talk insoles.
Insoles, aren't those just the foam things that come with the shoes?
They are, but they can make a bigger difference than you think. The ones that come standard are often pretty basic. Upgrading to something with better arch support and cushioning can be huge, especially if you've got foot issues or tend to get blisters.
Good point. Something to consider for sure, especially for serious hikers or anyone with existing foot problems.
Definitely. Now, what about caring for these shoes? They're going to take a beating out there. How do we keep them in top shape?
Right, because all that dirt and mud and who knows what else.
DT article had some good advice here. Clean them after every hike. A soft brush or a damp cloth works wonders for most stuff. For tougher stains, you might need a special boot cleaner.
And then drying, right.
Crucial. Prevents mold, mildew, and that funky shoe smell. And a key tip: no direct heat.
Yeah, I've heard that, but why is that?
Direct heat, like radiators or hair dryers, can damage the materials and warp the shape of the shoes.
Good to know. I'll resist the urge to blast them with hot air. So what's the best way to dry them?
Remove the insoles, loosen the laces so air can circulate, stuff them with newspaper to absorb moisture and help them keep their shape. Then store them somewhere cool and dry out of direct sunlight.
My closet sounds like the perfect hiking shoe sanctuary.
Sounds good. And remember to check your laces, insoles, and soles regularly for wear and tear.
Those little things can make a big difference in how well your shoes perform and how long they last.
Now, let's switch gears a bit. DT article highlighted some popular hiking shoe models that might be worth checking out.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear those. Always good to have some starting points when there's so many options out there.
For sure. They looked at the Propet M3598 hiking shoe, the Propet Cooper, and even some waterproof boots.
Right, I'm ready. Let's break them down.
They started with the Propet M3598, saying it's all about comfort and support, good for those easy to moderate trails.
So a versatile option that works on and off the trail, plus lightweight and breathable, that's a win.
Right, but it's only water resistant, not waterproof. So not ideal if you're expecting really wet conditions.
Got it. What about the Prophet Cooper?
Another solid one, especially if you're prioritizing comfort and support. They mentioned it's especially good for folks with foot conditions that need a bit more attention.
Nice. So good arch support and stability works for a variety of feet and conditions.
Yep, and like the M3598, it's versatile on and off the trail.
Awesome. Now, for those who do need waterproof options, what did DT article recommend?
A few things. The Drew Canyon waterproof leather hiking shoe, known for its water protection and handling tough trails.
Sounds perfect for those adventurous hikers who aren't afraid of a little mud.
For sure. They also mention the Merrell Moab 2 mid-waterproof, lightweight but doesn't skimp on the water protection.
Merrell, classic hiking brand, good reputation for quality and comfort.
And if you want top-notch grip and waterproofing, they suggested the Salomon X Ultra 3 Mid GTX. Salomon is another big name in hiking known for their performance shoes.
Nice. Any other recommendations?
One more. The Keen Targhee III Waterproof Mid, durable, comfortable boot, known for its great fit.
Keen is cool. They make shoes that are functional, but also stylish, which is a bonus.
Right. So there you have it, a bunch of popular hiking shoes to get you started on your search.
Feels like we've covered so much. We've compared hiking shoes and boots, talked about key features, and even got specific recommendations. What else is there to know?
There's always more to learn. Some research out there is looking at how different shoes can affect how you move and even your risk of injury. We'll dive into some of that in the next part.
Okay, we're back for the final part of our hiking shoe deep dive. Feels like we've already covered so much about picking the right pair, from terrain and waterproofing to how they fit.
We have. But there's always more to learn, especially about how different shoes can actually impact our feet and bodies, like the science behind it.
I'm all ears.
Yeah.
You mentioned some interesting research, right? What about how hiking shoes affect our biomechanics and risk of getting injured?
Right. Remember that abstract, trailwalkingshoes.pdf? It gets into the details of how different trail shoes affect the pressure on your feet.
Oh yeah, the one about shoes with wider contact areas, reducing pressure points. I remember thinking that sounded good, but why does it matter so much?
Well, those pressure points, those concentrated spots where force is hitting your foot, can cause problems over time. It's like if you keep pounding on the same spot, eventually it's going to get sore. That can lead to pain, blisters, even worse stuff like plantar fasciitis or stress fractures.
Yikes, that doesn't sound fun. So spreading out the pressure with a wider shoe basically gives your feet a break and helps avoid those overuse injuries.
Exactly. And it's not just about width. How flexible the sole is matters too. Hiking shoes with those more flexible soles let your foot move more naturally. That actually helps strengthen the muscles and tendons that support your arch and ankle, even less chance of injury.
So it's like a chain reaction. More flexible shoes, stronger feet, fewer injuries.
Yep. And it's not just about preventing injuries. There's research that suggests hiking in more minimalist shoes, the ones that are more like being barefoot, can help with balance and something called proprioception.
Proprio what now?
Proprioception. It's basically your body's awareness of where it is in space. It's how you can, walk without looking at your feet or balance on one leg.
Oh, right. Like knowing where your limbs are without having to see them.
Exactly. Super important for stability and coordination, especially on those uneven trails. Some researchers think hiking in minimalist shoes with less cushioning and support makes your feet work harder and actually strengthens those proprioceptive muscles.
So it's like a workout for your feet and a way to improve those sensory skills.
Pretty much. Now, I'm not saying everyone should ditch their hiking shoes and go full barefoot on the trails, but it's interesting to think about how different types of footwear can affect our feet and how they function.
Yeah, it really makes you think. I'm looking at my hiking shoes in a whole new way. It's not just about being comfortable and protected, but actually choosing something that supports how my feet are supposed to work.
Exactly. That's a great takeaway from all this. We've talked about features and recommendations, but at the end of the day, it's about finding what works best for you and what you want to do.
And remembering that our feet are pretty amazing and deserve some TLC.
For sure. So next time you're getting ready to hike, take a second to appreciate those feet and pick shoes that'll help them handle the trails.
Love that.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect place to wrap things up. We've explored all sorts of things about hiking shoes, from how to choose the right pair to the science of how they affect our bodies.
It's been a fun deep dive.
And that's it for today. But remember, the learning never stops. Keep exploring, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep hiking. Happy trails, everyone.